Hello, this is the Happy Families podcast. Minimum age legislation is creeping up. It's only a couple of months away now. December 10 is when the federal government's social media minimum age legislation kicks off. In a lot of ways, this is first of its kind across the globe, and there are a lot of people who are watching with interest. Today on the Happy Families podcast, we unpack what it means, what people misunderstand, and a whole lot more about how this thing is actually going to work. The clock's ticking, and we're going to tell you all about it right after this. Stay with us. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast. It's real parenting solutions every single day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We love that you choose to listen to us. Hopefully you've had a great school holidays. A couple of states still going through their holidays, but here in Queensland where we live, it's back to school. And we're kicking off the term with a conversation that is on a lot of people's minds. The social media minimum age legislation. Term 4 is the last term of school where kids under 16 get access to social media. It's all about to change.
Tilly died at just 15. Today, her mum took her story from regional New South Wales to the world, speaking at the United Nations.
Exhausted and broken. She just couldn't fight anymore. And social media played a direct role in her death.
Well, I've got a whole heap of questions for you today.
Okay.
I'd really love to unpack this because I think that there's plenty of parents who either don't understand the policy and what's going to change for them and their children, or kind of misunderstand what the purpose of it is. So my first question for you is, what does this policy actually do?
So the policy is designed literally to limit access to social media platforms to children under the age of 16. That's it in a nutshell. It's pretty widely misunderstood. It's been very much mischaracterized around the world. But if I was to read this directly from the e-safety commissioner's FAQ about it, it says this: age-restricted platforms won't be allowed to let under 16s create or keep an account. And that's because being logged into an account increases the likelihood that they're going to be exposed to pressures and risks that can be hard to deal with. These come from social media platform design features that encourage them to spend more time on screens while also serving up content that can harm their health and well-being. Under 16s, and this is critical, will still be able to see publicly available social media content that doesn't require being logged into an account to view. Okay, so that's what it does. It keeps kids from having an account. It keeps kids from getting access to anything that's locked down behind an account. But if there is content on social media platforms that is available for public viewing, children and teachers and whoever else will be able to access that content and it will be able to be viewed.
So you're suggesting that you don't need to have a profile to be able to access publicly available content.
Yeah, exactly. Even now as an adult, so I believe that you don't have a TikTok account, right?
Yep.
But you can still jump online and look for short videos, and TikTok content will come up in your online search. You don't have to have an account to be able to see the content. So the social media minimum age legislation, once more, does not stop kids from viewing content on social media. They can see publicly available social media content so long as it doesn't require being logged into an account. If people have privacy settings on, you have to have an account to be able to get in there and be friends with them or whatever, but they will not be able to keep an account, create an account, and therefore have the algorithm doing what algorithms do, which serves up increasingly harmful material and provides ongoingly compelling content to keep them there longer.
So it seems like a really lofty goal on the government's part to, I guess, rein in some control over what has been just openly available to these kids.
Yeah, I mean, social media has been the wild, wild west. It still is.
How are they going to monitor it? Like, how do they know that this child is 16? Or we've seen so many times that kids are pretty clever and they know how to get their way around all these, different controls and and platforms. So how do they monitor it?
So I'm going to be talking with Julie Inman-Grant, the eSafety Commissioner, in a couple of weeks and ask a little bit more about this. The details on this are a little bit skinny, but basically, again, from the FAQ on the eSafety Commission's website, there is a range of technologies available to check age at the point of account sign up and later on as well. It's going to be up to each platform to decide which method they choose to use. And eSafety is going to publish regulatory guidance to help platforms to decide which methods are going to be most effective and comply with the Online Safety Act. The guidelines as well are going to draw on the Australian Government's Age Assurance Technology Trial, as well as a whole lot of stakeholder consultations. And essentially, no Australian is going to be forced to use government ID to prove their age online. The age-restricted social media platforms have to offer reasonable alternatives to users. But basically, this is going to be on the platforms to make sure that all users are over the age of 16.
So I find this part curious then, because we've done so many podcasts where we've actually acknowledged that these platforms do not have our children's best interests at heart.
Correct.
And yet all of a sudden we're actually putting the onus back on them to take care of our kids.
Yeah, and that's because too many parents either won't do it or B, want to be their kids' best friends, so they actively assist them to be online, or C, it's just too hard. Like, parents are just, they're trying, and the kids find ways around it. So now the focus is very much on what the platforms are going to do to keep kids off.
So who gets in trouble if someone falls through the cracks? Is it the platform or is it parents and kids?
Okay, so again, if we have a look at the FAQ on the eSafety website, it says this: there are no penalties for under 16s who access an age-restricted social media platform. There are no penalties for their parents or carers. This is about protecting young people, not punishing or isolating them. The goal is to help parents and carers support the health and well-being of under 16s. The penalties, therefore, go to the platforms. A court can order civil penalties for platforms that don't take reasonable steps to prevent underage users from having accounts on their platforms. This includes court-imposed fines of up to a total of 49.5 million Australian dollars. That is for each case brought against Meta or against TikTok or against Snap or against YouTube, for each case where it can be proved that they have not taken reasonable steps to prevent an under 16 accessing their platform, they can be fined up to $49.5 million.
I know you and a handful of your colleagues worked really hard to get this legislation in place, and I know that it means a lot to you.
Yeah.
But I am curious, do you really think that this is going to move the needle at all for our kids?
I mean, it will. It's not going to change everything. They've still got access to gaming. There's still work to be done in terms of access to explicit content. They will still be able to be on the platforms in one form or another, in that the platforms can continue to serve up content in the public domain. And kids and screens are inextricably linked. But I think it is going to soften the impact of the platforms. I think the platforms for under 16s are going to become less engaging. And that's because the algorithm no longer knows who they are. They can't log in unless they're using their parents' accounts. And I don't know too many parents that are going to be like, of course you can have my social media account. Here's the thing. I reckon there's going to be some parents who are going to sign up for like a second account and just let their kids use that one. You can be me, but the algorithm apparently, this is hearsay, will be able to tell whether it's a teenager using the account or not, and hopefully that will flag it and be like, okay, a parent has signed up for this, pretended it's them, but it's actually the child. I have a sense that the technology companies are going to be able to figure out who's using it, and $49.5 million fines are not attractive to companies. Like this should work. Let me also highlight, there is enormous support among parents and even, surprisingly, some growing support among young people for this ban, for this minimum age legislation. Ahead of the implementation, YouGov did a survey and found that 77% of Australians back the under 16 social media minimum age legislation. That's up from 61% just a few months earlier. There's only 23% that oppose the measure. In addition, 87% of Australians support the introduction of stronger penalties for social media companies that are doing this. the polls are showing really strong support across all aspects of the government's proposed social media regulations.
So I feel like there are going to be so many families that are going to be breathing a sigh of relief that finally
Yeah, I agree.
they have a village that's actually starting to recognise the damage that this is doing to individuals and family units. But I'm also concerned that in doing so, parents become less vigilant.
Mm.
And I think that this actually would suggest that more than ever, as parents, we actually need to band together and we need to be more vigilant than we've ever been, because we've now been given this safeguard. It's in place. And if we can honour that safeguard and work together as communities to continue to safeguard our children in more profoundly impactful ways, that's when the needle shifts, not because the government's put in this policy.
Yeah, so nature will fill a vacuum, and if the kids aren't able to do X, Y, or Z, they'll find something else to do there. And so it's going to be up to us to make sure that we're delaying access to screens, having conversations with kids about what they're doing on screens, and giving them enriching environments where they can go and be creative, come up with other ideas, do other things that are going to be far more in their best interests. If we just think, oh, well, the government's done it, now we don't have to do anything, then we're selling our children short, and we're also, we have far too much belief in the power of legislation. It can move the needle, but it's not going to change everything.
I was actually speaking with a young man recently about his real fears that this is just another ploy from the government to take control of us. They want our ID. They want to, they want to know everything about us.
Yeah.
And that we're heading towards a dictatorship because we no longer have the choice to decide whether or not we will have an account. How do you allay those fears? Because for him, it was real. It was intensely real for him.
So a couple of things. First of all, young men and young women who are getting all of their news from influencers who are spreading fear and panic are just going to end up with anxiety and be miserable about it. Number two, you don't have to have an account if you don't want to. And so nobody's getting your details if you're not putting your details up there. If you do want to have an account, guess what? Alphabet is the parent company of Google, who also owns YouTube, and Meta. They know more about you than you know about you, and if you're worried about the government knowing about you, I'd be just as concerned, if not more concerned, about what these corporations know, and they know everything. And by the way, the government knows everything about you as well. They know where you live. They've got all of your ID already because of things like driver's licenses and passports, and because of spending habits. The ATO does actually talk to the banks and gets all the information about where money's coming from and where money's going to. The idea that this is going to turn us into a surveillance state that Big Brother is watching, that ship sailed years ago, right? Like,
we're already there.
We're already there.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be on the grid, use cash, get rid of your social media, don't have a credit card, be very, very careful about even having an email account, and I don't know, get a dial-up phone for your wall in your kitchen, and don't talk to anyone on a mobile phone. It's conspiracy theory thinking at its most basic, and I just don't buy it. The government already has all the information they need, is kind of where I'm going with that.
So you alluded to it earlier on in your comments, the idea that there is quite a lot of misunderstanding about what this policy is and what it is going to, I guess, give us as a community. Can you just unpack some of that for us?
Yeah, okay, so let's go through. I'm going to go through each platform, and I'll do this fairly quickly. All this information is available online, but if you listen to the pod and you're sort of going, oh yeah, I need to figure out what we're doing about this. YouTube. What stays for under 16s is this: full access to view all content, but you're going to be accountless. You're going to be logged out. That includes via web browsers. It includes the YouTube app. As an under 16, you're logged out unless you're using your parents' account, because sometimes parents stay logged in, like on the TV or something like that. You're going to be logged out, and therefore what goes is the cross-device, cross-session, personalized algorithmic recommendations. You know how when you're on one device and you go onto the next device and you can kind of pick up watching what you're watching from elsewhere. It knows who you are, it knows what you've been watching, and it continues to recommend things to you because it knows you on all of your devices. So that goes. The ability to upload and post content goes, and the ability to interact with strangers in the comments goes for YouTube as well.
Okay.
When it comes to Instagram, very, very limited access. So as part of the way that they acquire users on Instagram, Meta pretty much restricts access to people who have an account. You can get public access to landing pages and maybe a little bit, but they pretty strongly restrict browsing of any public content unless you have an account. And that's a business decision made by Meta. That's not an Australian government decision. So what's going to go if you're under 16? There goes the cross-device, cross-session, personalised algorithmic recommendations. Again, it doesn't know who you are. You also won't be able to have unlimited scrolling. That's just gone. That's against the way that Instagram works. You'll lose the ability to upload and post content, the ability to react to or comment on other people's posts, the ability to interact with strangers via the comments, the ability to interact with strangers via DMs. No more direct messaging. Also, there won't be any notifications that lure you back to the platform. You're going to lose most access unless Meta changes its policy, and you also won't have Meta AI access, which I think is fantastic, and that's going to apply pretty much across Facebook as well.
So that is really going to impact how our teenagers communicate.
Yeah, 100%. And again, that's why building that community and finding ways to fill that vacuum, fill that hole, making sure that kids have got a way to be in touch with each other matters. Good news is Wayne Warburton, about a month ago on the podcast, when I raised that with him, he just said, it's just ridiculous. There are so many ways for kids to get in touch with each other, even without using the dominant social media platforms, that if they're crying foul over that, they're just not using their imaginations. It's still completely doable.
What about TikTok?
Okay, so TikTok, once again, here's what stays. All of the public content via a web browser, that's going to remain available as it currently is. Any public content and landing pages that you can access without an account, you'll still be able to see that. And you will be able to see the comments from other users. But remember this, the TikTok mobile app will require an account to use. And if you're under 16, you won't be allowed to have an account. So here's what goes. Access to private content. Once again, the cross-device, cross-session, personalized algorithmic recommendations that I'm going to just throw in here. TikTok is it's owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese-owned company, and the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, has their tentacles into every single Chinese organization. So fundamentally, those recommendations are controlled by the Chinese government, and I think that's going to be a really good thing that our young kids aren't being exposed to what the Chinese government wants them to see. If you're on TikTok and you're under 16, you won't be able to upload and post content or react to or comment on other people's posts or react with strangers or send direct messages, and you won't get those notifications bringing you back to the platform. It's basically the same with Snapchat as well. That's the only platform that we haven't covered that's one of the major ones. You still get all the public content via web browsers, but Snapchat is designed to use with an account. So if you are a teenager under 16, you're not going to have disappearing messages. You're not going to get access to private content. You're not going to get the gamified streaks that increase that pressure to keep you there. You're going to lose the notifications, all the stuff that we're talking about. This is going to severely hamper, restrict, reduce access to and time on social media for our young people. If they're under 16, there will be ways around it because people always find it. But generally speaking, when social media platforms are going to get stung $49.5 million for not taking every reasonable precaution, this is a win for our young people.
So I guess my last question for you is understanding and recognizing how prevalent the use of social media has been for our 13 plus and sometimes much younger children. In essence, we're going cold turkey. One day they're going to have access and the next day they're not.
Right.
Is there going to be anything available to parents to help them navigate that transition period?
I keep on getting I've had so many interviews in the press and in the media about this, and my response is they'll be okay. They'll be a little bit sad, they'll be a little bit frustrated, and then they'll figure it out. Kids are creative, kids have ingenuity, kids will start to hassle you about different ways that they can contact their friends. You'll have to do that thing that parents used to do before social media. Go back 15, 20 years, where parents used to talk to each other about getting the kids together. And then the kids are going to have to do things like ring each other or send each other text messages or get on the bike and ride to each other's houses. Again, there are going to be some kids who struggle. There are going to be some disadvantages. I'm not denying that, but overwhelmingly, I think this is a net positive.
I think back on our parenting journey, and I remember the day our eldest received, against our desire, a mobile phone. And I look at the lives that we lived before those small devices were placed in our kids' hands. And maybe I'm wearing rose-coloured glasses, but family life was so much simpler. There was some challenges. Obviously, family life is full of it. It's messy. But on the whole, the challenges that we were experiencing were everyday challenges, as opposed to a constant navigation of impactful, negatively impactful information that our children are being fed on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And as much as there's been some good that's come out of them, honestly, I'd go back to the day when my phone was stuck on a wall any day.
I know we're sounding like a couple of old fogies right now, but I just don't think that the changes that social media has brought to the world have been fundamentally positive. I think social media has been an overall net negative in far too many lives to justify its existence.
If for no other reason than it zaps our time and literally takes us away from the people that matter the most in our lives.
Massive. Anyway, I'm going to talk to Julian McGrath, the eSafety Commissioner, in the next couple of weeks about more around this. If this has been helpful, please share it with somebody you know who's maybe struggling with or has some questions around these topics, and play it for your kids as well, because the kids will want to know what's going on and this could be helpful. Play it on 1.5 speed. I mean, they don't need to listen to us talk in slow motion. The Happy Families podcast has been produced today by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides additional research, admin and other support. And if you'd like more information about making your family happier, visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.